Hi, everyone. I'm Winnie, and as part of collective Love Music, today I'm going to have a chat with David Bird. David Bird recently collaborated with Love Music on a new work called What Glows is Fuchsia. David Bird is a composer and a multimedia artist based in New York City, and his works explore the dramatic potential of electroacoustic and multimedia environments, often highlighting the relationships between technology and the individual. So, David, hi, nice to see you, even if it's from afar.
Hi, nice to see you again. Yeah.
So before we go into more specifics about our collaboration and specifically your piece, I'll take a moment to talk about Love Music's project Premieres in Private Places, of which this piece is one of. So the idea was conceived during lockdown in France during the pandemic, and we saw numerous and amazing diverse art projects flourish online. But we did wonder about how long artists will have to wait and audiences will have to wait before being able to interact with audiences again. Love Music wanted to create a new and different type of project in which we can engage creatively with the composers and the audience. And we decided to undertake a new collaborative project, working and creating with composers, but specifically without a live concert as an end goal. So therefore, we have Premieres in Private Places, which is a series of 5 audiovisual short form works in collaboration with 5 different composers from around the world. So some of whom we've already started showing and worked on with, and others it will be our first ever collaboration. So in these new works, which some have shown and will continue to be released between June and September this year, we created some virtual pieces that are not intended for live performance. As I said, they're of shorter form, so they're in order to adapt with the more online watching behavioral pattern. We also asked the composers to write in a free score in order to allow people in our ensemble, in our collective, who don't have access to their usual instrumental equipment, the opportunity to participate, but also for the composers in case they're far from their usual equipment. In this way, we were aiming to be working with and not against or in spite of the current situation. For Love Music, it's our creative reaction to extraordinary circumstances that we're currently in. So with David Bird, Love Music was able to collaborate, and we made What Glows is Fuchsia. David, we were actually meant to collaborate live for a live concert right now, but unfortunately, because of the pandemic, that changed. That will happen ideally in early 2021, and we're really looking forward to that. But perhaps before we go into specifics about the piece, you could say in your own words, give our audience a little, in a few words about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, like you were mentioning, I'm New York City based. I was really honored to be involved in this project. I do a lot of work with electronics and video, and it was a cool experience to try to think of a creative way of dealing with this project that wasn't, like subject to like you were saying, like the limitations of our current situation. So trying to make something that took advantage of different media and different ways of creating sounds and putting them together. And yeah, it was one of the things I think from this last few months that has felt like the most positive and most inspiring, considering everything is very much still in limbo. Um, but yeah. Mhm.
For sure. And so, are you currently in New York?
Yes.
Okay. And so, what is that
Yeah.
like right now for you? And how has that changed over the last few months?
Well, New York got hit really badly right in the beginning with all of this.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think I don't know, I haven't heard anyone talk about it this way, but it really felt like very depressing and very dark
Yeah.
right when it was happening. And especially right when people were still kind of working and there weren't any kind of like rules or laws in place about face masks or social distancing. There was just like a lot of fear around. And so that was definitely a lot to get through. I think now New York City's been a lot better,
Okay.
and it's inspiring to walk around and like everyone's wearing masks and they're very responsible. And overall, it seems like the cases are going down. And when the weather's nice, people are outside, and it's a different vibe now. I think
Sure.
everyone's even though people are very aware that there's still a pandemic going on, they're still finding ways to enjoy things that they care about and do it safely.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully we'll all see a better ending to this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, in terms of how the pandemic, how you dealt with the pandemic in terms of creatively or your daily life, especially in terms of making works and compositions, how was this different for you this time as opposed to pre-pandemic?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was just letting go of projects because, we all, as freelancers and creative people, we have projects like lined up for a year or more ahead.
Yeah.
And just like suddenly realizing that maybe that whole season is gone and all the work that you
Yeah.
had done for that is kind of, postponed or canceled. That's a big kind of emotional like letdown. And so, and often, and also like the ensembles have been so great. Love Music has been so great. And, being able to proactively create like things like this, creating like online works or, being quick to set up new dates for these performances as well. But once you get used to things like not happening, your brain kind of recalibrates. And I think in some ways I've started to think more like internally without having like the constraints of thinking about writing for an audience or writing for a specific space.
Yeah.
You start to think about what you really value in music and what you value in collaboration and in the types of things that you're working with. So I feel like my world has gotten like smaller, which I don't know if that's a good thing. It's probably a bad thing, but that's just a reflection of what's been going on.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, in terms of this specific piece, it was created during lockdown, but also
Hmm.
it's like we were saying, it's a specific type of work that is not made for a live presentation in with real people in a concert
Hmm.
situation. How is that very different from your everyday work? Let's say everyday in terms of pre-pandemic, I guess that's the normal that we can only associate with. Yeah, how's that different in terms of writing pieces that are not for live concerts?
It's funny because I feel like my strongest asset as a creative person is actually making things for fixed media, but I don't do that at all. I think I have like a total fear of creating something concrete and like putting it out there and that it can't be changed or revised. And so I don't have a lot of like I don't have a recording or an album out under my own name. I don't have any tape pieces or pre-recorded pieces or something.
Hmm.
I do really like documenting performances and putting them online to share with people,
Sure.
but they're documentations of performances where people are adding their own interpretations of it. It's not just like something that I made and I put out there. And so this was actually maybe part of that internalized approach of things getting smaller or shrunken, I guess, it's meant that I've been able to focus a little bit more on developing a kind of confidence around putting out work that is fixed
Yeah.
in a way.
Okay.
And so this was a really cool project because it blended those skill sets, I guess. I was able to write a score for you guys, and
Mhm.
it was kind of a score. It was encouraging you to kind of grab different media from your world, and then I was able to assemble it in a way that I don't know, felt comfortable. I really enjoyed doing it, and I actually wonder if this style of working will continue post-pandemic, if there's a post-pandemic.
Sure.
If it's like gonna be a style or a genre of pieces in the future, I don't know. I'd like to do
Yeah.
another one. I think it was fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic. Does that mean we're
Mhm.
your first concrete work?
I think it depends,
Okay.
because some pieces have been played and will probably never be played again.
Sure.
So in that in that sense, maybe those ones are concrete works. I don't know, but
Sure.
this is kind of special, definitely.
Yeah, it
Mhm,
was an amazing experience for me.
mhm.
So in terms of the piece itself, are you able to give us some insights in the piece without giving too much away, or would you be able to speak about it a little bit? Just share whatever you're willing to share about it.
Yeah. So yeah, when Adam reached out to me about this, I was thinking a lot about, I wanted to make it special for the circumstance. I also didn't want to make it like a depressing response to the pandemic. So I was thinking a lot about like the nature of collaboration and kind of the things that performers exchange with composers, like leading up to a piece.
Hmm.
So sometimes that's like, yeah, like techniques or certain types of musical ideas, or even just being like, I like that thing that you do can you do that in this piece or something? You know,
Yeah,
there's often these exchanges that like really make a concrete presentation in what ultimately gets arranged and written for the groups. And
sure.
I wanted to make that kind of pre-compositional thing like the piece in a way. Like your contributions were going to be everything that I used.
Yeah.
Um, and I wanted to expand what those contributions could be, so they weren't just like make a sound or do a thing. So I asked the group to the score is like a bunch of prompts. Like I'm looking at it right now. It's
Yeah,
like
I
a
mean,
shoot.
speaking about the score itself,
Mhm.
just in the whole project, the whole Premiers in Private Spaces project, we got a bunch of different types of scores, from very notated, like in notes, kind of black and white notes kind of way, to more
Mhm.
like asking us for impressions or perhaps a feeling. But yours was very
Mhm.
like very clear and succinct in terms of exactly what you wanted in material and medium, and then what you wanted us
Mm.
to deliver as very clear and directional. I'm just
Oh, that's
gonna,
cool.
yeah, it was a pleasure to read. Um,
Okay.
so I'm just gonna read one or two of them out. So we have number one, video. Choir, sing long tones sitting at the computer at night, so only lit by the computer screen. Number two, video, glitch, in the same visual configuration as choir, perform a 2 or more minute vocal improvisation integrating vocal fry, blah, 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 different types of vocals in improvisation. And then you said in number six, miscellaneous media, share 4 or more images, videos, or sounds representing something or someone you missed during COVID. So, can you give us some background on why you decided to state the directions that way, or perhaps what inspired you to give those type of directions specifically?
Yeah, I think so. One of the things that you'll notice in the piece is it's kind of assembled in a 3D way. I thought one interesting way of dealing with a bunch of miscellaneous media could be that I put you in a kind of three-dimensional room because
Yeah,
you can't be in a real room together.
yeah,
So what you see is like a lot of these images kind of placed in a space, and I tried to think of kind of gestural situations with those media that could reflect certain things. So
yeah.
I think one of the initial images that came to mind with the project was seeing everyone in the ensemble arranged in a kind of in like a circle, like looking inwards at each other.
Yeah.
And this happens, I think, near the end of the piece, where all of the images of things that you missed or things that were like canceled from COVID stuff, it's all kind of like flying up, kind of like a bonfire, and everyone is like watching it, and there's like reflections of flames in their eyes, and that's the choir. Like the choir that everyone is singing is like this, ooh, the spooky thing,
Oh,
and all of these like things that you missed and lost out on are like burning in front of everyone's eyes.
it was,
So that
yeah,
was like,
very spatial, but very textual.
yeah.
Like I got to
Mm.
feel different textual sensations, and you see, like, I mean, the audience will see later in during the premiere, but I felt like I could touch elements that felt different, tangibly different,
Mm.
viscerally different. Yeah,
It's interesting because this was like the first piece that was really informed by like a database style
sure.
compositional approach. Because like I had some ideas about how I was going to arrange things, but everything really changed when I logged in after the deadline for everyone to submit their media and seeing everything that everyone had submitted, like the
Ah,
texture also in terms of how things were presented, but the kind of emotional texture was really palpable too, like
okay.
seeing the types of things that people shared, and sometimes I wouldn't know who shared what, so I'd see an image of like a dog, and then I would see an image of like someone's mom or grandma,
Yeah,
and yeah, not knowing the context for that, like it was just
sure.
like it kind of the diversity of all that material kind of added a nice texture for how I assembled them in the
So,
end.
so do you feel like what we sent you actually changed or perhaps morphed your ultimate perspective during the course of your composition?
Yeah, I think so. There were certain things that I really wanted to present, like the bonfire scene at the end, I guess. And then, oh, Adam saying the dog is William. William, that video was really cute.
Yeah. William's a
And
brilliant dog. You'll get to meet him.
yes, yes. Um, I don't know. I think the decisions that I made probably would have been uh, more technical or more nuanced in terms of how they were assembled. Um, I don't know. I think putting them all together, trying out different configurations, just like once I had everything, certain things worked, certain things didn't. I don't really know if anything changed like too dramatically, but I do think that like what was presented is like what was put together from the ensemble. So I think one of the prompts was record like 2 minutes of a kind of noisy torrent or like a kind of waterfall kind of sound.
Yeah.
And like that was, I just like put it all together at the same time and kind of blended the levels differently. And that's like kind of what's there for one layer of the music. And the media is all your media. I just kind of made the shell for it. And so it was kind of cool to compose
It's,
in that way where just
it's a really
it's really
fleeting,
like the
awesome
group.
shell.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
I can't speak for all the members of the collective, but I do know that my personal experience making them was extremely fun, and
Oh,
I
good.
tried to look at different ways to portray your clear directions. Like I thought, how can I kind of warp this so that it still fits the rules without
Mm.
without breaking it, and yet still play around
Mhm.
with it. I know one
Mm.
of the directions, I didn't say it before, but it says share two still video perspectives looking out of the window of your home. Nothing within your home
Mm.
should be in the frame. I
Mhm.
thought that was a really interesting direction. Like, why wasn't my home allowed to be in the frame? And so I tried to play with that, and I mean, I put in like a mosquito net kind of thing. So,
Mm.
yeah, what's behind that direction?
I guess that was another like kind of image I had pre-imagined, which
Mm,
is just kind of seeing everyone's images of looking outside. And so that's what starts the piece actually. It's like these windows. It looks like a screensaver. It's like these windows just like floating up, and it's everyone's kind of perspectives of just looking outside.
sure.
And the music is very like I don't know. Maybe that's like the depressing part or the ominous part. But it's I wanted to kind of capture that feeling of looking out and being kind of stuck within,
Sure.
because eventually everything warps and it's everyone's looking in at the camera. But I think that's the only time in the piece when where the viewer is like feels like they have some agency in that they're looking out at something instead of being looked at.
Mm,
So yeah, I thought that that would just be another perspective to explore in the piece.
yeah, definitely.
And also everyone has really beautiful views. I was kind of kind of jealous of that. Everyone had
Oh,
these beautiful like European sunsets and flowers, and yeah, it was nice.
well, it's also our decision what to show you. So
Mm.
it
Oh,
was
you're
up
right.
to us as well. So that filters
Yeah,
things out as well. Kind of
yeah,
like make it like a gram or something like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So before we do show the premiere,
Mm.
is there anything else you needed to add before we show what glows is fuchsia?
I don't think so. I just want to thank everyone for contributing, media and performances for this. I think I definitely found a new area to maybe explore in future pieces. I never thought that something like this would be possible. And yeah, despite the horrible situation right now, this has been one of these like nice, optimistic projects and ways of thinking about art making. So I want to thank you guys for putting the time into this and reaching out to me about it too. So thanks.
Thank you. I mean,
Mm.
same goes here for all of us that love music. We want to thank you, David, and we want to thank you for giving us this opportunity to collaborate with you and to think outside our comfort zones and boxes to give you little montages and video clips and sound clips of interesting things. We want to thank everyone who joined us on this stream or whoever's watching a bit later. So, love music. Wish you all a healthy and safe moment in time. We hope you enjoy what we're going to play now, which is What Glows is Fuchsia by David Bird in collaboration with Love Music.